Okay, let's start with your parents. What were the names of your parents and where were they from?
Well, they were from Pickens, Oklahoma. The Pickens was my grandfather's name, and he was the one that started the town. Or was back then it was in a little burg, but I mean it was a town, and he built it, and that's where my parents were from.
What's the name of your parents?
Pardon?
The name of your parents.
My mother's name was Ruby Juanita, and my dad was Francis Lloyd Cross.
Francis Lloyd Cross.
Yep.
Okay. And do you know what your mom's maiden name was?
Her maiden name was Pickens.
Pickens. Okay.
Yeah, that was
She
her
the
dad
Pickens.
that built the town.
Okay. What kind of work did your father do?
Well, when he came here, the farm back there, they, my mother's dad had enough land that when they got married, these kids, he gave them a 80-acre farm. So that's what he did for till we moved. And because of his help, he wasn't, well, they wanted to move to Arizona. So we moved to Safford. I guess I was a year old. And then he, I don't know how he got acquainted with him, but there was a fellow that owned a cattle ranch there. And he talked my dad into being the foreman of that and running that ranch. And he did that till we moved to here. Then he farmed out there in a little farm out town.
Okay, so he was a foreman on the cattle ranch
Yeah.
in Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when were you born?
3/10/27.
And you were born in Pickens?
Yes. My grandfather was a doctor, so I guess he's the one that delivered me.
Oh, okay, so were you delivered at home?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Can you give me their names?
Yes. I have Joyce, Karen, Judy, and John and Pat. John and Pat, the boys, and the others are the girls.
And where are you in the birth order?
Pardon? I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay. So you had a lot of sisters and brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you said you were about a year old?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, about a year old.
1928 when your family came to
Probably.
Arizona? Do you know, what was it that brought your parents to Arizona?
My dad had problems with his lungs, I guess, and they said that Arizona would be a good place to come on where it wasn't so damp all the time. So then that's what decided that we come here.
And do you know how it was that they ended up being in Stafford? Like, what was it that drew them specifically to Stafford?
Well, in a couple of little towns south of Stafford, my great-grandparents lived, and so then that was the main reason we moved to Stafford. It was only maybe 15 miles from the little town out there, and that was the main reason that we all moved there.
Do you remember the name of the town where your great-grandparents lived?
Oh, let's see. It was out of Stafford about 10 miles, but I cannot.
Pima?
Yeah, Pima.
Pima.
That was it. Pima.
Is that near Thatcher,
Yeah,
kind of?
yeah, Thatcher. I think they did live in Thatcher for a little bit, but
Okay.
While you're starting that, we're just gonna tweak some.
Sure.
You got two eyeballs because I can see this light in your eyes. When you
okay.
We don't want you to have.
Yeah, that's better.
Well, he kind of looks like Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll let Ernest
Sorry,
finish that up
guys.
a little bit there. I have some family that lives in Stafford, actually. My great grandparents had a cattle ranch in Douglas.
Is that right?
Yeah, and my grandparents actually live in, well, they live pretty near to Wilcox right now,
Yeah.
in between Wilcox and Douglas.
I'll be darned.
So I know that area pretty well.
Yeah, well, That ranch was was an old Mormon dude that owned it. He owned a drugstore in Safford, and I don't know how Dad got tangled up with him, but anyway, he liked my dad, so he wanted him to go out on the ranch, and they stayed out there for a lot of years. And of course, that's where I grew up and learned to be a cowboy. But then he was better here. I know he didn't have any trouble with his lungs or anything. So
Okay, so how old were you then when you guys moved from Safford to?
when we moved over here was 10, 12, I think 12 years old.
Okay, and what was it that brought your family into the Chandler area?
My grandparents had moved over here, and the great-grandparents lived here, and the whole dang family lived there in Chandler. So they kind of all got back together again.
Now this is on your dad's side, on the cross
Yes.
side?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the name of your grandparents on the cross side?
On the cross side was, let's see, my grandfather, I never knew him, but he was, had a funny name. Trying to think of his name. And what was Granny's name, man? Beulah. Beulah Cross was my grandmother. And my great-grandmother, I can't even remember her name. That was a lot of years ago.
Yeah. So you were about 12 when your family came, and you said that they came and they had a farm near Kyrene? Is that
Yeah, in
correct?
that area out there.
Do you know where the location of the farm would be today?
There is no farm out there. It's all
Houses now.
all
right?
homes and
Yeah.
businesses out there.
What's the cross streets, today's cross streets?
The one going out would be, let's see, you go
Would it be Chandler Boulevard or?
Chandler Boulevard, but you go over Chandler Boulevard, then you go on straight on out. I'd be Chandler Boulevard all the way out now, but the cross street from there, I have no idea. There was so dang many little streets and homes and stuff in there that I do not know.
Okay, so it could be Priest maybe, or Kyrene, or somewhere in that area maybe?
Yeah, well, let's see, Kyrene, it would be on west of Kyrene.
Okay. And how many acres did your father have?
I don't know, there was about 80 acres there.
Okay, about 80 acres. What did your father grow?
They grew cotton and that was it.
Okay. And where did you go to school?
I went to Kyrene, all through my grade school I went to Kyrene. And then back those days, they say you graduated from the 8th grade, and I graduated from the 8th grade there. And then I went to Tempe High School.
Okay, so you went to Tempe High School, and what year did you graduate from Tempe High School?
I did not graduate from there. I went there, 2 years or so, and then I decided I wanted to go in the Navy. And I quit and went into the Navy and spent 3 years. And then when the war was over, then I wanted to get my diploma so the Navy offered classes, so I went to finish my high school in the Navy.
Okay.
So then I finished it up there.
So
I
they
did it
just-
better there than I did it originally. I got a 3.9, which a 4.0 is perfect, so, and I didn't do that well before
So
that.
you finished your high school education in the Navy.
Yes,
Did they consider that a GED or? was
yes.
it- Okay.
They told me that I could go back to that high school and get one, but what the heck, that GED was fine with what I needed.
Okay. Now, so do you remember, prior to December 7th, 1941, do you remember what you were doing at that time?
Prior to 41,
Yeah. I know you were in high school, but what do you remember about that?
yeah, I was in school at the time when the war broke out.
Okay. Do you remember remember what it was like being in school and remembering, you know, and knowing that the war broke out?
Yeah, it was sad, but, you know, being a kid, didn't think it, interested me too much, but just thought it was sad that it happened.
Do you remember where you were when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
Let's see, where the heck, well, I would have been, no, I
That was
don't,
in December of 41.
yeah, in 45. I would have been in Safford at that time, I believe.
Okay. Now, so what was it, you said that you enlisted in 1943?
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah,
Okay. And how old were you at that time?
17.
You were 17.
Had to get my parents' signature before they take me in.
Now, what was it that made you decide that you wanted to join the Navy?
I really didn't want to join the Navy. I wanted to join the Air Force. I wanted to learn to fly. So a friend of mine and I, we went over and we were going to enlist, and they said, but I was on all the time.
Do you have any memories from going to gunnery school, what that was like?
What it was like, it was a lot of fun, except we got in trouble one time. We were shooting a 3-inch gun, 3-inch, the cartridge was out. And what they'd do, they would fly these drones out over, and you were supposed to shoot at them. But there was a guy that set the sights on the gun, and I was the one who pulled the trigger, but he set the sights so that you'd shoot behind it. Well, this one guy told me, he said, well, I know how to do this, and when you get that thing in your sights, blast it away, and he set it where it blasted it apart, and we shot it down. We got in serious trouble because they told us that those things cost thousands of dollars. All I did was pull the trigger. The guy set the sights on that thing. Anyway, on the 20mm machine gun, it was just one gun in a 20mm size, you know, about 1 inch and about that long of the cartridges that was on there. And you were buckled in that, strapped in with your shoulders, and that's where you stayed. When we were in enemy waters and under attack or whatever, you was bolted or tacked together.
What was that like, being you were kind of stuck in that position, you couldn't really move around?
No, I couldn't. It had bulletproof type steel this size here on either side, but then right where I looked down where the sights were, it was it was scary because a couple of times they'd come flying over and they'd shooting at us and we were shooting at them, and we had wires coming down, and I'd see those things, they'd cut them in two with their bullets, and then we'd cut them down in ours.
Okay. Now, going back to, you talked about that you eventually got on a ship to go overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when it was that you actually deployed overseas?
That we did what?
When it was that you actually deployed overseas?
Oh, well, it's 43 is when it was, and then I guess it was still in 43 when we took off and went on the first cruise. And then we went from San Francisco out to Philippines was the first one. We went to Hawaii first and then picked up fuel and stuff and went on up to the Philippines.
Okay. So you left from San Francisco?
Did I what?
That's where you deployed from San Francisco?
Well, yeah, San Francisco, or that's where we always came back to there, to where the Navy build was there. And that's where when we went out and come back in, well, that's where we're there for a while, and then we'd pick up whatever we were going to take back and take off again, usually within 2 or 3 weeks or a month.
Okay. So, with the ship that you were on, that first ship that you were on, do you remember the name of the ship, by any chance?
Yeah, it was a SS Coffeyville Victory. that was the name of. They were victory ships, and what they did was haul troops, and they hauled gasoline, they hauled ammunition, and the Navy had to furnish gunners to man the guns on those ships, and that's what I did. I was a gunner. That's all I did on there was being a gunner.
Can you describe what life was like on that ship for you? Like, describe a typical day for you.
Well, it was good. I mean, except when we were then under attack with the Japanese. Well, we played cards and we had to stand watch on, in case, you know, and I had to stand watch so many hours at night on my gun tub. And I'd just go up there and then other than that, we played cards and whatever.
Now, maybe tell me a little bit, like, describe, say, starting in the morning and then all the way till night. Like, what would your day entail?
Well, first we had chow, and then, of course, we had to keep our guns clean, and they'd send us out and we'd clean the gun tubs, and check all the ammunition. We'd, and I always checked my gun to be damn sure it was in working order. And then we stood watch, and then we'd have lunch and play cards or whatever we wanted to do then until bedtime. And then always at night I had to spend a certain amount of hours in my gun tub. A gun tub meaning that there was about a 8-foot diameter, about 4 feet high and about that thick, where the gun was mounted inside of that. So when they came in and started shooting it, at least you'd be partially safe. And anyway, we had to keep those clean and everything else, so they kept us busy.
Did you have a specific gun tub that you were assigned to?
Yes.
Okay.
I was assigned to the one on the bridge, which was the top, highest one up. If you looked out from my gun tub, looking straight down, probably 30 feet straight down.
How did you feel about that?
That was great. I didn't mind that. The fact is, back then I thought it was fun to shoot at those airplanes. But now I wouldn't want to do it at all, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But one time that it wasn't fun, and the torpedo, we got in a convoy. Well, we were in San Francisco, and they told us we were headed for, where the heck was it? We were headed for one of the islands over there, and we got partway over, and they changed our orders and told us to join a convoy with 66 ships. So we did, and we pulled in there, and we had gasoline aboard our ship and ammunition, so, and all of the ships that were lined up in the convoy, then they had one that they'd put on they called it coffin corner, because you had so much, if they dropped anything out, it could blow up the ship next to it. So they put us right back there by ourselves. And then we were going up, and we started out with 66, and I think we ended up with 40 when we got up. We lost 26 ships. A lot of them was when the kamikazes, when they'd come in and just straight down on the top of them. Fortunately, we didn't get one, and the ship next to us got blown out of the water, but we didn't get it. But then they was under attack, and this one torpedo plane, I could see him coming around, and I was trying to get on him, and I was on the port side, which is the left side of the ship, and he wheeled around to come around, and I could see I knew what he was because they taught you what the planes looked like, and I could see the torpedo underneath. Blast at him, but then he knew what the heck he was doing. I guess he just dropped it down and just barely above the water. Well, my gun wouldn't go down that far. It'd go up, but it wouldn't go down. And he was coming straight in, and where my gun tub was, and he dropped that thing, and it was coming straight out. I said, oh, it's time to get out of this place. So I unbuckled myself and got out, and I had one leg over the side. I was going to jump out because there was a destroyer escort next to us, which is like a destroyer. I don't know if you know those, but Anyway, he saw the thing coming too, the guys did, and what we called ash cans. They kicked that one over, and that torpedo, and it collided, and it blew up right there. They said that happened 3 times in the whole war, that they blasted one of the torpedoes like that. But then, of course, it was right by the ship, and I thought, uh-oh. So I looked down, I couldn't see a hole. But the ship raised up out of the water, must felt like 20 feet. And I came back down, and I couldn't see any hole down underneath there. And then I found out, so I didn't want to jump over the side then, and so that's what happened in it. And the guy come over, and he was blasting away and cutting cables over my head, but when he went down the other side, the guys got him over there. So anyway, that was a close call. That was